Hey guys, today it's just so hard to believe it's been 4 years since I did my very first YouTube video, and I did it on the GM328, the little multifunction tester. Today I want to take a look at this multi-tester, and this is the Longrunner TC1, and it's TC version 2.12K. This tester comes with the little user's manual, some test leads, some extra pins, a little charging cable, because the neat thing about this one, it does have an internal rechargeable lithium battery. Looks like it did arrive dead, so after a good charging up, it actually looks fine. The display looks fantastic. I didn't mind the original GM328 either. It was pretty neat, especially for the money. My ZIF socket's getting in kind of bad shape. I probably need to solder some leads, like I mentioned several years ago that I needed to do. Just some good quality leads so it didn't any losses. So instead of replacing my ZIF socket, I wanted to see what else was out there, and this little tester looked great with a little color display. Shows you your pins, has infrared testing, has a special dedicated spot for your Zener diodes, which we'll get into in testing. It also shows you battery voltage when you first turn it on or hit the button. So go ahead and put 1, 2, 3 being red, green, and black here with my test leads. And we will go ahead and short the leads together, all three. Short all three together like so. We press it, it should, yep, it recognizes that it's in self-test mode. It'll tell us when to separate. There we go. Please isolate the probes. And then it continues on its own. It's pretty sharp. Oh, there we go. Tells us our version 2.12K. We're ready to test. So we're going to start off really basic here. And the first thing we're going to do is a resistor. But we're going to throw a little bit of a curveball here, because instead of just doing a 20 ohm or 100 ohm resistor or 47K basic stuff that a meter would do, this is a, you can see that on the screen there, that is a 0.1 ohm. And usually a meter doesn't do too well reading the real low ohms. This is like a current sense resistor or a feedback resistor. And if we test this 0.1 ohm resistor, it actually shows 0.1 ohm after calibrating the probes or zeroing out the probes. 0.09, so very accurate, even though I don't like these probes. I mean, to be a $30 piece of test equipment coming with these leads, can't really complain at all. It's actually I guess a nice little thing to add, but the quality of these leads are not good. I know it's hard to tell on camera, but they're very cheesy. And I worry about the spring making good contact. But so far, even on that low ohm, it's actually reading pretty good. Some of you may remember on the GM328, it was neat how it would show the potentiometer. See, if we hook this up with the green on the wiper, just for clarity, red to red and black to black, and our green will be on the wiper here. And look at there, I put it close to center, if you can see that. And that's really close to center. Now, this don't have a live view that I know of, but we can turn it, do it again. Let's see, there's about 60-40 there. Go all the way clockwise. And there we go. Close to 0 and close to 10K. Enough with resistors. We'll go on to something like inductors and see if it can differentiate between the two. That's always a pretty tough job. So across our pin 1 and 3 here, we have an inductor. Very small, yeah, 0.02 millihenry, 0.06 ohm. I run this core in, this ferrite core in a little bit. We'll go all the way flush. See if it shows differently. Should be a little difference. And it does, it's 0.05, and our resistance is 0.06. So that is really neat, and I'm very, very happy with that. Next up, we'll try this little common mode choke, this little EPCUS. It says 2 times 2.7 millihenry. So somewhere 2 to 3 millihenry per coil here. .1. Pretty neat. Let's see how close they are. Even though I actually ripped this off a board, I wasn't gentle with it when I grabbed it. Yep, very, very similar. So enough with inductors. We'll do a real quick on capacitance. I know this is a bad capacitor. It was dome shaped when I took it out. I have double checked with a resistor, but it's always better to double check before you put it across the meter, because a large capacitor with any charge can destroy it. .282. And even though it does show the ESR for this cat wasn't bad, it is a lot lower value than it should be. So it does catch this cat being bad. And I remember when I took it off, I didn't mark it, but I remember the ESR wasn't, well, my ESR meter didn't show bad, but it was lower in capacitance than it should have been. Another one, that's another known bad one. This is a smaller 2200. Old, but should be still good. These hardly ever go bad. 2008 picofarad. Very similar polycap. It's a .047. There you go, just under 46 nano. I've had no issues. Even when it's like an MP0 here, it says 56. Should be a 56 pico. .52 picofarad. We're gonna check. It's a little small cap here. This is the one that actually came with it for testing, along with a little red LED and the pins. And it does show a good ESR and 12 microfarad on this one. And it is a little 10 microfarad, 25 volt, 10 microfarad. Another really neat feature with these, if we want to check a LED, for example, see this one's clear. Sometimes the clear ones are white, but you even see the clear ones that's red and green. So I want to know which one this is. Well, it is white. We see it testing and it lights up. It tells us the direction of the cathode and anode, and it tells us it's 2.88 voltage on the junction of that diode. So that also tells us probably a 3 volt diode. And this one right here is really unusual. It's got 4 leads, right? And if I don't have my information, you'd have to piddle with this for a while with your meter and diode checker so to know your pin out. But if we just hook up here, 1, 2, and 3, to 3 of the leads out of the 4. Let's watch it go through. We got a blue and a green. So 3 or a black lead here is going to be our common cathode. So we know that the blue one is on the green lead. We should have I believe it's a red diode in here as well. Let's see, yep, got the red showing now. Red and the blue. So we know that the lower voltage there will be the red one. So the red lead is on the red LED. The black, of course, on our common. And the green one is on the blue one at this time. Green one on the green one now. So that's fantastic. Within just a minute or so, you know the pin out of that tricolor LED. We'll go on to regular diode. We'll just grab one here. And that just shows us our our forward voltage of a little over 1/2 volt, and just verifies our cathode and anode. This older diode is the same. I keep a box of these things. I think I used these on that old 4 years ago too, some of these same diodes. About 0.6 volts on that one. Even gives us some information on capacitance and everything. So let's see what else. We'll come back to the Zeners last. What do we have here? We got an N-channel enhancement mode Mosfet. And as we see in the book here, you know, towards the end of the video, I'll try to have some screenshots of this up. You can actually look at them, study it, print it out, whatever you'd like to do. It's a little bit blurry, so it's not just my hand shaking. It is a little blurry, but it's still a nice little manual, especially compared to the GM328 that come with nothing. We had to figure a lot of it out. But we show here, they're saying field effect tube, but our Mosfet, it shows our turn on voltage, which is VT, our gate capacitance, CG, our drain resistance, this is RDS, our protection diode forward voltage and forward voltage drop. If it actually has it down here, note 3, if it has a protection diode, which ours does. And if you can see that, it shows 571 millivolts or 0.5 volts forward voltage on that protection diode, and gives us some really neat information here as far as our drain current, our protective diode, as far as our turn on voltage and our gate capacitance and our drain resistance as well. So that's awesome. I really like that color display a lot. I did miss a couple diodes here. These are dual diodes, so they're always fun. Diodes are easy to check with a multimeter, of course, but something like a dual diode, these can be fun. I'm not used to having a 3-lead test meter until the GM328. We see here, these are really good diodes, and our pin 2, which is common cathode. See the little face on the component there? I like the diodes that actually give you that on the face of the package there. It shows good. I do a Schottky diode assembly. I know I have taken this one out because it was bad. If you can see that, this one is the same way. It's also going to be a common cathode. Pin 2. I'm going to try to hook it up the same way as the other one. And we do see us a dual diode, or do we? Well, it's showing 2 diodes, but it's showing 3 common and not 2. Well, no, what's happening there is one of the 2 is actually shorted, so it's not showing anything on one of the 2, but it's reading that diode back across twice, back through from 2 to 1 when it goes to test your pins. So it's neat. It did catch the issue, but it can fool you if you don't pay attention. So I knew the way I hooked it up, and that didn't look right. So I wanted to show that on purpose there. Let's see what we have here. Another N-channel enhancement mode Mosfet, very similar. We see all our data there. It's very, very helpful. Let's see, all right, these are here. I think these are NPN transistors. Let's see. Yep, BJT, little NPN. Gives us our gain there, HFE. So I was going to go through and check some more transistors. I might just check this one more because I wanted to show something with this one here. And then I want to move on to Zener Diodes because they're kind of neat. All right, so I want to check this component here. Well, why in the world did this go into self-test mode? Well, you know what that's telling us? And I knew it was with the meter as well. this component here is shorted completely. All three legs is like an absolute dead short. So the meter even picked up like it thought you were trying to do a calibration test. And remember, it picks up very well on resistors, so those junctions are very shorted. All three pins showed shorted, so it's trying to do a self-test. So I'm actually going to have to go through and do another calibration, and I'll skip forward and come right back. Okay, so I just had to do a self-calibration again after we run across that shorted transistor. And the next thing I wanted to show, remove the leads here for this. This one actually has a dedicated, you see K, A, and A here. So our cathode and anode spot, I guess they're calling it. If we take the Zener Diode, carefully put it in cathode to K and anode to A, and we test it. And you may notice something right off about this that's very impressive. And I picked a 15.7 volt Zener to show this. Most of your testers will not show above like 3.1, 3.3 volts. This one goes up a lot higher. So I had a 16 volt and I wanted to show that, or 15.7 volt. This one just, I snapped off of a board. I'm not even sure what it is. I may have it in there backwards. I didn't even look to see. Yep, so if you put it in there backwards, it just shows you your regular forward voltage. Yep, had it in there backwards. So if we put it in there with the line, or cathode to cathode, it actually shows our reverse voltage. And this is a 12 volt Zener. And it shows us here that under diode and voltage regulator diode, it says it'll go up to 30 volts on reverse breakdown voltage. So that's very, very impressive. It also shows, by the way, that it'll do a battery polarity, and battery up to 4.5 volts. So honestly, you could use this to test up to a 18650 lithium or LiPo type cell. You might not want to get in that habit though, since you can't go above 4.5 volts. I guess it would damage the internals if you go too much higher, but that's still a really neat feature. So we went over a good bit of the features of this little thing. The next thing I wanted to show was this little infrared. I wanted to show you how neat that thing is. It picks up on a remote the data. One thing it tells us here is the decoder only supports the Hitachi encoding format, but almost everything that I pick up, if you'll see that, it'll turn to red, then it'll turn to blue up here on the dot to show that it found it, and it updates it. And it tells you user code, and it tells you your data code. And that is super, super handy. It's the old Toshiba laptop remote that I've had. I didn't know if it was still working. And yes, it absolutely is, with a different user code. And I got a bunch of buttons to go through here. And man, it picks them all up just that quick. My Atten microscope that I have a video on, that I keep on my workbench here. There we go. All kind of buttons on here to go through. And we do notice that the user code is the same user code as my little HDMI switch. And if I go to 2 on my HDMI switch, we see this 08F7. And one of these buttons on here, there we go. This button here is also 08F7. So these remotes right here put out the same exact user code and data code on that one button. So when you start having odd things happen, that might be a good way to check. I think one last thing to do before we stop the video here, I thought at the end we would we'd take it apart and have a look inside. There's a little cell. Well, that's a very impressive little module for around $30 on Amazon. If you're interested in it, I'll have a link in the description. Again, just a 4-year update on one of my first videos, and everybody was so kind and thought that video was helpful, and very good comments on it, and really helped me launch my YouTube channel, and I really appreciate it. So today, 4 years later or so, I just thought we'd go through this newer tester and take a quick look at it, the similarities and some improvements. It don't have some of the deeper features, but it has some extra features like the IR and things that are really neat. At the end of this video, I'm just going to go through, and you can actually pause the video if you wanted to look at this manual a little bit better. I'll try to have it as clear as I can, but a lot of this stuff is just blurry, even though it's a nice manual. Some of the words and the images are not that clear. But I hope you like this video today. If you'd like to, please comment below. And if you like the video, please like, share, subscribe, and thanks for watching.